This is your number one independent radio, Raypower 100.5 FM. Hello and welcome to the news desk. I am Kedonojo Okoliko. First, the headlines. ATIKU, KWANKWASO, AMAECHI, AREGBESOLA, David Mark, other ADC chieftains lead ADC protests to INEC headquarters in MAITALA, Abuja. OGUN police rescue 9 foreign nationals, arrest 2 suspects over transnational fraud syndicate with deceptive travel scheme. Elsewhere, Kenya's private sector contracts amid global headwinds. And Iran and US agreed 2-week conditional ceasefire as Israel launches new strikes on Lebanon. Details shortly.
As the news drops, it breaks with us. Join us for news on the hour every hour. News desk at 12 noon. Metro News at 4 p.m. Enjoy infotainment, breaking and sports news at their best 24/7.
This is Ray Power FM News.
And now the news in detail. A fresh turbulence has hit the African Democratic Congress, the ADC, as a third faction emerged yesterday. This development is further deepening and complicating the party's leadership battle. The new group has officially dissociated itself from both the Senator David Mark-led coalition and the Nafiu Bala-led faction, claiming to be the only legitimate authority within the party. The report.
What we need to do now is to have democratic renewal. Nigeria is gradually evolving into a totalitarian state. And this is very worrying for me, you understand? And it's not just about the electoral system alone. Even that is part of it, but it's more than the issue of the electoral system. It's more than the issue of independence of INEC. What we need to do now is to have democratic renewal. Nigeria is gradually evolving into a totalitarian state. And this is very worrying for me, you understand? And it's not just about the electoral system alone. Even that is part of it, but it's more than the issue of the electoral system. It's more than the issue of independence of INEC. For instance, when you don't have transparent laws, again, do you know the content of the Electoral Act now? Have you ever seen the Electoral Act? This is the first time in the history of this country that a law will come into operation and nobody knows the content. The moment that any big man goes into one big...
We do sincerely apologize for that mix-up. We'll play the right inserts in a subsequent bulletins. ATIKU, KWANKWASO, AMAECHI, AREGBESOLA, David Mark, and other ADC chieftains lead protests of the ADC to INEC headquarters in Maitama, Abuja. The action, which is tagged Save Nigeria Democracy, is targeted at the electoral umpire, which they say is working for the ruling APC to undermine democracy. The protesters have just taken off from the Maitama roundabout, which is about 1,000 meters from the INEC headquarters. Currently, the leaders of the protests and their supporters are waiting for INEC officials to submit their petition later. And there is growing concern among Nigerians about the strength and safety of opposition politics in the country as cracks within major parties continue to widen. For many citizens, the fear is no longer just about political rivalry, but whether Nigeria is drifting toward a one-party state. These concerns took center stage as former presidential aspirant and chieftain of the People's Democratic Party, Benga Olawepo Hashim, addressed journalists explaining his decision to exit the party. Olawepo Hashim described the opposition landscape as fragile, weakened by deep internal crisis that have left parties struggling to stand firm. Ogun State Police Command has rescued 9 foreign nationals and arrested 2 suspects linked to a transnational fraud syndicate. The suspects, Stephen Kwame and Abubakar Sulaiman, were apprehended at the hideout in Owodiegba area. Police spokesperson Olusheyi Babasheyi says the operation was carried out on the 6th of April following intelligence received through the Interpol. The victims, including a 40-year-old Ghanaian national, McLeod Owusu, were lured to Nigeria with promises of travel to Europe, but were confined and extorted. The principal victim was defrauded of 31,000 Ghana cedis. The rescued victims are receiving care and efforts are ongoing to reunite them with their families. The police have vowed to dismantle such networks and urge citizens to verify travel agents and provide credible information. Meanwhile, the University of Jos branch of the Academic Staff Union of Universities ASU has announced a strike over non-payment of March 2026 salaries. The union directed its members to stop lectures, examinations, and meetings effective today, the 8th of April 2026, citing failed efforts to resolve the issue. ASU blames the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation for the delay, stating the university's bursary department has completed its part. It says a monitoring team has been set up to ensure compliance and strike remains until salaries are paid. You are listening to the news desk on Ray Power 100.5 FM. In the news, we told you KWANKWASO, AMAECHI, ATIKU, AREGBESOLA, David Mark, and other APC chieftains lead protests to INEC headquarters in MAITALA, Abuja. Ogun State Police Command rescue 9 foreign nationals, arrest 2 suspects over transnational fraud syndicate with deceptive travel scheme. Still to come, Kenya's private sector contracts amid global headwinds, and Iran and US agreed to 2-week conditional ceasefire as Israel launches new strikes on Lebanon. Plus business, entertainment, sports, and weather. Please stay with us.
As the news drops, it breaks with us. Join us for news on the hour every hour. News desk at 12 noon. Metro News at 4 p.m. Enjoy infotainment, breaking and sports news at their best 24/7.
This is Ray Power FM News.
And now the news in detail. Taking you now to the remaining parts of the news. Kenya's private sector has contracted for the first time since August 2025, with the Purchasing Managers Index dropping to 47.7 in March from 50.4 in the month of February. Businesses are reporting lower output and fewer new orders due to reduced money circulation, tighter household budgets, and rising fuel and transportation costs. The conflict in the Middle East is also affecting logistics and costs. Companies are scaling back production, keeping inventories low, and slowing hiring. Despite the challenges, some businesses remain optimistic about growth over the next year. But still on the foreign side, US President Donald Trump has announced a 2-week ceasefire with Iran, just 90 minutes before his deadline for Tehran to agree to a deal. The ceasefire is conditional on Iran allowing shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi says Tehran will agree to the ceasefire if attacks against Iran are halted. Meanwhile, Iran's 10-point plan includes compensation, withdrawal of U.S. combat forces, and lifting of sanctions. There's a twist, as Israel says the ceasefire doesn't include Lebanon, contradicting Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif. Israel has carried out new airstrikes in southern Lebanon, as Pakistan has invited both sides for talks in Islamabad on Friday.
And now, a business update from Ray Power 100 FM.
To some business stories, it's not a very good sharing news for Nigerians, as the Dangote Petroleum Refinery has increased its gantry price from petrol from 1,275 naira per liter and diesel to 1,950 naira per liter, marking a fresh hike in fuel cost. This move is expected to trigger higher pump price across Nigeria, further increasing transportation, logistics, and production costs for businesses already struggling with a tough operating environment. The price adjustments were driven by prevailing international crude oil benchmarks and broader market realities, according to a top refinery official. Petrol prices rose by 75 naira per liter from 1,200 naira to 1,275, a 5.02% increase, while diesel jumped by 200 naira per liter from 1,750 naira to 1,950 naira. Still on business, Nigeria's pension asset climbed to 29.43 trillion naira in February, delivering a 1.39 trillion month-on-month surge, the strongest expansion in more than 2 decades since the contributory pension scheme was introduced. The jump eclipses the previous high set in January 2024, when assets rose by 1.18 trillion naira, underscoring a new phase of rapid market-driven growth in the industry. Data from the National Pension Commission (PENCOM) shows the increase from 28.04 trillion naira in January 2026 was driven by inflows and market valuation gains, with equities playing a central role in the expansion.
This is Entertainment News on Raypower 100.5 FM.
A new twist has emerged in the ongoing court proceedings surrounding the late singer Mohbad, as the court ruled that an independent laboratory would be appointed to conduct a DNA test on his son Liam. However, Mohbad's father, Joseph Aloba, has objected the decision, insisting he won't accept the outcome of a test conducted by a lab unknown to all the parties. The dispute stems from a legal battle between Joseph Aloba and Mohbad's widow, Wumi, over Liam's paternity. The court had earlier ordered DNA tests to be conducted, but the chosen laboratories couldn't perform the required tests, leading to the latest ruling. Joseph Aloba wants transparency and prefers to engage his own private pathologist to conduct an independent DNA test, citing concerns over the earlier inconclusive toxicology report on Mohbad.
Raypower Sport.
The Nigerian Olympic Committee has announced 27th of June as a date for this year's Olympic Day celebration, with plans underway to stage a nationwide event promoting physical activity and social inclusion under the global auspices of Olympic solidarity. The committee explained in a statement that the annual initiative would provide a platform to encourage Nigerians of all ages to embrace core Olympic ideals, while also highlighting the importance of regular exercise in daily life. Players and officials of Nigeria's under-20 women's national team, the Falconets, have officially resumed camp in Abuja as preparations intensify for the final rounds of qualifiers for this year's FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup. Nigeria will face Malawi in a two-legged tie for a place at the tournament, which will be held in Poland from 5th to 26th September 2026. Nigeria will host the first leg on Saturday, 2nd of May, with a return leg scheduled for a week later in Malawi. Some of the invited players reported to camp on Monday, while training sessions commenced today under the guidance of head coach Moses Aduku.
Raypower weather.
It's cloudiness with patches of cloud and will dominate the northern region. The central region will experience cloudy atmosphere with intervals of sunshine. However, isolated thunderstorms with light to moderate rains are expected over parts of Kogi, Nasarawa, Benue, Niger, and the Federal Capital Territory later this evening. Meanwhile, a cloudy atmosphere with intervals of sunshine will be experienced across the southern region, accompanied by light rains in some areas. And to end the news, here is our last line. In the words of Socrates, Greek philosopher and founder of Western philosophy, the secret of change is to focus all your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. That's it for the news desk, as produced by Edimachi Ikechukwu. I am Kedonojo Okoliko. News on the hour comes up at 1 o'clock. You can watch us live on YouTube at Raypower FM Abuja. Good afternoon.
Providing 360 degrees of information and entertainment. Reloaded for today's Niger.
Raypower.
Nigeria's original independent radio station.